This video is the first in a series of observations about the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard case. The title of this video is a reference to a bizarre incident involving Johnny Depp in 1994. Johnny Depp and Kate Moss got into an epic fight at New York City's Mark Hotel, where Moss accused Depp of cheating on her. Police were called, and they found a possibly intoxicated Depp and a disheveled Moss in the middle of their ravaged guest room. Depp was arrested, and although the charges were dropped, he was ordered to pay the hotel nearly 10,000 in damages. Depp claimed that the damage was done by an armadillo that popped out of the closet. The armadillo was never found. Because this is such a politicized subject, a disclaimer. I'm not a feminist. I have defended plenty of men when the entire world seemed to be against them. I do not believe Depp is innocent. I have also accused plenty of women when I thought they were in the wrong. I do not unconditionally support or oppose men or women. My motivations for making this video, mainly the first and biggest motivation, is destructive propaganda is a big trigger for me. I absolutely hate destructive, manipulative propaganda, deliberate harm done to people, and lynch mobs. That is why I got interested in this. Two, I hate pseudoscience. I like the scientific mind. I like reasoning. I like rationality. I like logic. And I absolutely hate it when people are manipulated and gaslighted and taught stupid things in the name of science like a bloody WhatsApp forward. And the third reason is free speech. I am a staunch believer of free speech. I believe that regardless of whether Amber Heard committed abuse or not, if she had experienced abuse, which is fairly clear already, she had every right to speak of it. One of the worst perversions of civility in the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard saga was the complete humiliation and dehumanization of Amber Heard, as promised by Depp. The masses were extensively coached on how to see Amber Heard, how to interpret her, before jurors ever set eyes on her. Her absolute humiliation and punishment had begun well before the verdict.
Of death threats. Thousands since this trial has started people mocking my testimony about being assaulted.
So I had mostly ignored the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard situation because it seemed fairly cut and dried, one of those narcissistic wives who sort of gets away with abusing her husband and extorting him for money and then still bad mouthing him till he finally decides to teach her a lesson. Hollywood people, celebrity news, culture spam. Who cares? But as the case started heating up more towards the verdict, I saw a very disturbing pattern about the kind of abuse leveled at Amber Heard, and then some of it started sounding really surreal, which is when I started digging. One major influencer of interpretation of the case was the videos that appear to be analyzing the case, but which aren't actually analyzing it. I will be showing more of that in this video. But basically, what those videos do is propaganda. They're telling people that there are evil intentions behind seemingly benign actions. They are teaching people to dehumanize Amber Heard and consider her to be fake and everything she says to be false. And with so many people claiming to be behavioral experts and body language analysts and God knows what, channels dedicated to this kind of a thing, and all of them having a consensus on something so wrong. You cannot justify this with science, not even with like observational theories, with nothing. And while many of the videos even claim that, there's a lot of research that proves this, they don't actually present the research. And I found most of these videos to be bullshit, to be propaganda. And what is even more concerning is that they make the same mistakes. So you can have a lot of people who are biased, a lot of people A lot of people claiming to be experts making the same mistakes is extremely fishy. It usually speaks of an organized campaign, which is when I really got interested in digging. This is a whole cottage industry of ghouls, okay?
We're going to start off the show tonight taking a look. We said this yesterday. We watched a lot of the Amber Heard footage on her on the stand. I think by and large, a lot of us agreed that that shit was a fucking show.
First, for those of you who are patrons, thank you so much. Your support means so much to me. It's helping me be able to turn this into my career.
There's a whole lot that's been happening in the courtroom, so to help us make sense of it all, please welcome our favorite body language expert. 18 years as an investigator with federal law enforcement. She's also CEO of the Body Language Institute, Janine Driver. Janine.
This is part 5.
This is not science. These people are a dime a dozen, and it's just not possible to address every video. So I'm just going to comment on a few with just examples of the kind of language and the kind of interpretations they give.
I thought he was the love of my life. And he was. He was. But he was also this other thing. And that other thing was awful.
I found this on YouTube. This goes back to 2015. It's a DV survivor victim's impact statement. The point of me doing this is for us, one, to look at an actual person, to listen to the words, listen to the affliction in the voice, the emotion, and then we'll go back and listen to Amber Heard stuff.
It is at best 70% accurate. There is definitely a talent to reading it. It is not a complete science as something like psychology is. It is not quite a pseudoscience. It is a mixture in between.
This is like reading your palm to find your car.
It's been agonizing. Agonizing, painful, and the most humiliating thing I've ever had to go through.
In my expert opinion, what I'm seeing with her body language and with her words that we'll get to in a bit too, there's a lot of deception happening here. And one of the hardest ways to spot liars is when they embed parts of the story that are truthful. And that's what's happening. I train clandestine spies too, but don't tell anybody.
Whoa.
This could be due to boredom. This could be due to guilt. This could be due to not wanting to be caught for something. When you are looking around a room a lot while being spoken to, that shows a lack of interest in what's going on.
Or she could have simply believed that then she has a right to free speech. So this was just a waste of everybody's time.
All right, Greg, what do you got?
Yeah, so we will use occasionally on this show a lot of jargon. So we're going to be careful not to use a lot of jargon to unpack some of the dense concepts that we talk about. But
if you're not unpacking it, you're not explaining it, then you're just talking in the air without any basis.
I'm going to tell you that her head is like it's on a switch, and she's got a little limit switch right here. And when she looks at the jury, her face changes from what it is when she's looking at the attorney. So we'll call that a swivel switch, just my own made up word. That's okay, except remember, people who are in the jury are human beings.
I mean, the jurors are people, humans, yes. What about Amber Heard? Or is she just your meal ticket?
And those people in the jury may come from a different culture where too much eye contact is bad.
Jurors may come from a culture where too much eye contact is bad, or it may mean something. I mean, I don't know, what culture would that be? Jurors in America are selected for not being able to understand general body movements of other Americans.
They may also have trigger points that when you look at them with an angry face, it makes them feel something. That's a little bit over the top right there. When you look over there and you start making all those mean faces, what if that person over there has had an experience that you're triggering?
Because you're concerned about how she might look at people in the jury who may be from a different culture, who may interpret her look in a different way. Let me get this straight. You're telling your viewers that Amber Heard is triggering the jurors by sharing her trauma. Trauma that incidentally she did not want to share and has been forced to share. Also, jurors fully aware that the case involves allegations of domestic abuse.
But in this situation, she nods in affirmation, legitimately nods like, yeah, but then actually says no afterwards. It's two distinct communication devices that are used one right after the other rather than at the same time, and they're exactly misaligned. And this is not a good tick for Amber because it's already setting up this idea of not being able to really fully believe or trust what she's going to be saying. But
what a malicious quack. There are two answers in response to two questions. She nodded to indicate that she understood the question, and then she answered the question with no. This is not difficult to understand if you're actually an analyst.
Did you ever commit an act of domestic violence against Johnny Depp?
Calls for a legal conclusion and irrelevant, but go ahead.
Do you understand what I'm asking you?
No.
And he strangled me as I grasped to breathe.
Fuck, man, it's even hard for me to watch. This is very tough. Everything that I'm hearing from her sounds fucking real, and you hear the pain in the voice and the way she's crying, right?
Top of his lungs, screaming, I fucking hate you. I fucking hate you. You ruined my fucking life. And screaming at the top of his lungs, he picks up the phone and starts bashing the phone against the wall where I was just being held. And he was just over and over again smashing this phone into the wall, over and over again, screaming at me. And I was watching the phone every single time he pulled his hand back. It was just breaking into pieces. I remember thinking this phone is disappearing. He was smashing it to smithereens, just going into the wall. I'm on the countertop. He had me by the neck. And he felt like he was on top of me, and I'm looking at him in his eyes, and I don't see him anymore. I don't see him anymore. It wasn't him. It was black.
All right, so right, as we watch her, you notice how she's kind of in and out. When it gets to an intense part, she starts choking up and delivering, and then when she's not telling that vital moment, it's more chill and like she's flowing in and out of it. And we go back to this woman, right? Again, trigger warning, guys. This is very hard to listen to. This is a real DV survivor.
Comparing domestic abuse victims and handing out Oscars, there is no right way to describe domestic abuse. You're required to detail what you went through, and that is what you do. You get the words out however you can. Here are some more examples of narrations of abuse.
While I was with Sam, he slapped me, he punched me, he stamped on me repeatedly, he spat on me, spat in my face. He put my arms under my body and sat on top of me so I couldn't defend myself, and punched me all in my rib cage and in my belly, in my ears. That really hurt. He strangled me once, to the point that I passed out. He threatened me with knife, threatened me with scissors, threatened me with meat cleaver, threatened to shoot me in the fens, threatened to break my nan's legs. He rained terror on me for months.
Forced me to have sex with him. I actually didn't want to have sex with him that night, and he was so mad at the fact that I was saying no that he pulled me from the bed. I was wearing thongs, and he actually cut me.
There was one time that he beat me up so badly, the next day I thought he'd broken one of my bones, so I went to the GPs. The hospital, obviously they were suspicious of my injuries, and I spoke to somebody who was really lovely in there, and I thought it was all confidential, but she had a duty of care, and as soon as he was arrested, I felt so guilty. I felt like I was ruining both of our lives, and I did fully believe that if he murdered me, it would take a long time before anyone even noticed. I felt at that point that I was good as dead.
Clothes was out the wardrobes, everything was just broken glass, broken mirrors. I looked back and he was rushing, speed walking towards me, and his hat was down. He had a big coat, but his hand was inside his pocket. His goal was me. I threw myself on the floor and I grabbed myself like this. He's grabbing me by my hair, trying to pull me up, but it's not possible. Demetrius is actually forcing him and hitting him, let her go, let her go. All I feel is my head going to side to side. All I know is I feel this really cold, and when I actually touched it, was a lot of blood behind my head. Gun would have never jammed on the third strike. That would have been the bullet that killed me.
As for why domestic abuse victims are able to narrate more coherently than this, it is because they land up in court after their abuser is arrested. They don't land up in court for claiming to be victims. Their testimony is going to put their abuser away. Johnny Depp is still going to be a free man. This isn't the first time he's suing her for defamation. And it won't be the last unless she gets him convicted for domestic abuse. And even if she manages to win the case, at best she would have escaped this one time and he can still come after her. If that is not enough to terrify a woman, I don't know what is. In the meanwhile, her humiliation is entertainment and income for louts like you. Ridiculing her as a TikTok meme.
They're saying that Amber changed tenses a lot during her testimony. What does this mean?
You may remember Susan Smith. She drowned her 2 young sons back in the early 90s. She was dating a guy who didn't want to date a woman with children anymore. Susan Smith had these fake crocodile tears that we see with Amber on the stand. No tears, right? We have an ear, nose, and throat doctor for a reason. They're all connected. When someone cries, you see a deep swallow.
Oh my God, the expert got Amber Heard talking like Susan Smith who'd killed her 2 children. This means she has violent tendencies, right? Wrong. Susan Smith has nothing to do with Amber Heard. Susan Smith was caught because her 2 children were missing, but she talked about them in the past tense, which led the police to suspect that she knew they had died. If this sort of voodoo science were correct, all those authors getting advised to stick to one tense when they write, all of them would need to be investigated. The only data that will support this kind of a comparison is the views, visitors, ad revenues. This has nothing to do with science, this has nothing to do with behavior, this has nothing to do with analyzing facts.
Amber is saying, he slapped me, slap. So in past tense to current tense, and this is ebbing and throwing through all of her stories. And as a matter of fact, she didn't even say he hit me. She left out that pronoun.
It was that simple. I just laughed because I thought he was joking and slapped me across the face.
Leaving out the pronoun again means nothing except to YouTube experts. Thought experiment. Think of it yourself. Do you drop pronouns? Had lunch?
Interesting.
Wow. Okay. So I'm like just blown away by this entire thing. Yeah, because I'm like, why do people just destroy each other like this? But let's get to, your expertise.
Now, this is interesting because this is actually a pattern observed with a lot of abusers. Take what they are doing and accuse their target of doing it. So you can be on a program designed to destroy someone's life and be so innocently shocked you don't even know how people do this to each other.
When someone has start-stop sentences, the reason we pick up on it as not being someone who's telling the truth is because a scar is created. She has removed something from the story here.
I had no experience, interpret the script as best you can. I did another that means I have occasional visits once done, and
he does this interesting sound effect called tutting. I think you may have pulled a clip for it.
Yeah, we have it.
So she was upset.
So, okay, let me just play devil's advocate for a second. Is that possibly something that can happen due to trauma as well? Like the start, stop, the different things that you're referring to right now?
This is not playing devil's advocate. It is a ridiculous clip. You've just got a clip of someone tutting. You take different instances of them tutting and that's it. And now you have to attribute some malicious intention to you. And most sane people will go, are you fucking kidding us? Everybody and his cousin will do this. But then you have to find patterns, right? If you need to attribute enough malice, you need to find patterns. So whatever pattern you find, you're going to use, right? So now how do you interpret this as somehow evil without people laughing you off the show? So that is where you interrupt and say, no, 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 this looks too ordinary. And then the expert comes in to explain how it is not ordinary, how these are special circumstances. Let's see how she explains it.
We all tut-tut. Our grandmother used to do it when you'd sit at the table with her baseball hat on at Thanksgiving. Take that off, young lady. So we are tut-tutting throughout the day. You're looking for where it's out of place. Sam, it makes sense. She's tut-tutting because this is, I'm in trouble. This is, I'm disliking what I'm experiencing here. It's annoyance and impatience. And it's like, I can't stand this. Where we're hearing these tut-tuts throughout Amber's testimony, it's out of place for someone that's just telling the truth.
A woman who's being jeered at by the entire world would not be uncomfortable, would not be distressed, would not be irritated. How does she have less of a right to go tut-tut? Or, I mean, this is like sounding also very ridiculous. How does she have less of a right to go tut-tut than anybody else? This is not analysis. This has no basis in science. It has no basic in logic. This is pure malice.
Oh, no one ever has to go through something like this.
Now that we have all seen, you especially, both Johnny and Amber's testimonies, in your opinion, who's being truthful and who do you think was the aggressor?
In my expert opinion, training over 60,000 law enforcement people just last year alone, is that the aggressor is Amber. And if I could go back in time, if I was Amber's attorney, I would have asked Johnny Depp when he said he doesn't strike women, or he's never struck a woman, how to define that. What does strike mean? Our words have meaning. Maybe he hit her in self-defense while she was hitting him. But in my opinion, she is the abuser.
The fact that someone claims to be an expert and confidently says someone is an abuser based on this garbage, who is guilty based on watching their behavior. Anybody who claims this is a fake. It's not possible. So this is strange. People spreading disinformation on social media are using the same strategy as Johnny Depp's lawyers. Either they are extremely devoted fans, or someone needs to take a look at what's going on. There are a lot of claims you make to sell books. But if you are recklessly making pronouncements like this on the YouTube, either the FBI, has a party budget or something, where you can do whatever you want and you don't have to perform, you don't have to bring results, and they just like paying you, or you're lying.
Her words trail. She kind of runs way back. She'll number hundreds regularly, if not daily, hundreds with no emotion.
I receive hundreds of death threats regularly, if not daily.
But when she starts talking about mocking is when she gets that whole stank face thing going on, and her whole emotional demeanor changes. She rubs her legs, and there's too much emotion in the wrong places for me.
What is the approved place for emotion when you get a death threat? When you get hundreds of death threats?
Chase, what do you got?
Yep, I agree with you. And right at that question, what threats have you endured? The attorney asks her this question, then it's businesslike, emotional. There's this large inhale, turns to the jury, and instantaneously starts with this face wrenching again, like you talked about, stank face, to get into an emotional state.
Yes, expressions can and do flash across faces fast. So here's a victim. This guy has found out he's got cancer and he's going to die very soon. He actually died already. He's already dead. How would you describe his face? Is his grief real, or is he just pretending to be sad about dying soon?
This is probably going to be the hardest video I've ever done. For many reasons. I'm going to try and get through it without crying. I'm going to try and get through it without being sick.
And this rapid shifting of facial expressions is not truthful. This is peer-reviewed. This is well-reviewed in multiple studies.
Not buying that. I think you need to put some source for where you're getting all this learning from. Anyone who claims this rubbish to be scientific, please ask for research. They say, right, it's backed by research, it's proved, scientists have shown. So show us.
It's very strange. We don't see this very often. But she says mocking 3 times. And my testimony about being assaulted. And not mocking her abuse, not mocking her suffering, not mocking her life, but they're mocking the testimony, not the fact that she was abused. They're mocking the testimony, which is a interesting point to make.
You got a point. Strange that she only mentions testimony. I think you're trying to ruin her whole life, and she only noticed the testimony. She hasn't gotten around to understanding your full impact. And that is what is truly stupefying about this case. The sheer amount of extremely coordinated propaganda. This is like political parties do, for example. It's like extremely organized propaganda that is selling the exact line you need to hammer in. This is too targeted, too methodical, and more importantly, the same methods by everyone to be a coincidence. This is, if you can organize people like this against a woman, I think the world has come to very interesting times.
Here, I'm not saying there's some deception here, but that's a definite huge red flag.
So I love this. You see this in a lot of the videos. I'm not saying it's guilt. I'm not saying she's lying. I'm not saying it's deception, but it's a red flag. A red flag is a warning. What are you warning about? Well, you're warning people about Amber Heard without reason. You're actually saying you don't have a reason.
There's a discussed facial expression in her trial baseline in general. She makes this kind of disgust facial expression.
Yeah, that's pretty odd. I wonder why she would be disgusted. I mean, she's speaking in court. She knows it's going to be ridiculed. She knows people are going to make memes out of it. She knows you're guiding all these people into how to understand her properly. She's getting death threats. What's so disgusting about that? I mean, if she's a narcissist, she's supposed to enjoy all this, right? You're saying she's disgusted by it.
Okay, right off the bat, this question is asked and she starts shrugging, which is an indicator of insecurity, or at least not being certain about what is being said. And then along with that, she does some placating, self-soothing gestures and blocking gestures and shaking her head. It's a very massive cluster spike from what we've seen in her baseline, which is usually fairly constant, to indicate that she's really, really not comfortable with that question here. Now, legally, it's not applicable.
Legally, it's not applicable. Scientifically, it's not applicable. But if you want to influence the masses, and thus the jury as well, towards a conclusion, it is very useful, even if not applicable. Who knows what is applicable? Only the experts, right? But everybody knows what they're told to believe. I mean, there's such a consensus going on. The case is for defamation. Johnny Depp or his lawyers cannot present this information as proof in a court of law. But his supporters can very definitely misrepresent it before the public as her behavior while being accused of domestic violence, which is factually incorrect. But it is not her behavior while being accused of domestic violence. It is her behavior while being cooperative with the state and providing information as a witness. She was not accused of anything when this video was made. And even now, she is not accused of domestic violence, except in these kangaroo courts.
But non-verbally, it's a very telling question, and her reaction to it is extremely telling. So far, this is 2 strikes already against Amber.
There aren't 2 strikes. The first was a bogus accusation about the yes-no thing, which she deliberately misinterpreted or was too incompetent to understand. Simply being bored in a place is a proof of nothing. It's not a strike, it's nothing.
And we're literally a minute into this video. This is not a good thing for Amber. Let's keep watching.
Isn't it true that you had previously told Johnny Depp that you had hit him?
I'm going to object. It's a different question. It's vague and ambiguous, vague as to time.
Many times when we fought, well, not many times.
Alright, so there's a thing about the mouth shrugs, which I brought this up often in Shane's video. Generically speaking, mouth shrug indicates insecurity or uncertainty about what is being said. I think that is the case here. I'm not certain that that is the case here, but I think that is the case here. She flashes a couple of them, and then she starts stumbling all over her words, which there's two reasons that that could be. Either one, she's working to recollect something, or alternatively, she's working to come up with a story about something.
I've got hypothesis 3. Her lawyer has just realized that Amber Heard is actually being framed for abuse. They have not expected this, they have not discussed this, and Amber Heard has just got the unease from her lawyer and she's unsure what to do, but ignore what this idiot is telling you. She isn't the one on trial. Depp is suing The Sun, a newspaper. She, being the source for the story, is one of the witnesses. She wasn't being sued. Her innocence or guilt is not in question. She's simply providing information useful to the case. And Amber Heard is not sure whether she should answer this or not answer this. As in, with answering get her into trouble or not answering get her into trouble. She already realizes that she's being targeted.
He hit me for a very long time before I ever
I'm going to
picked up my
object as
arms.
non-responsive and move to strike. Ms. Heard, I'd like you to listen to what I'm about to play. Would you do that?
Don't eat. Just real quick, why is she eating?
Just look, why?
It's not sustenance. They're snacky foods. And there are theories that are saying that she was given this food to be able to buy herself time so that in issues where she has a difficult question, she could be eating food to be able to come up with an answer. It does present itself in this video. But it's just so frustrating to me that that's how little she cares about what's going on. I don't think that a person who is on trial for alleged assault accusations involved in a relationship would just be casually snacking and acting like she's so unenthused about what's going on. If she's actually the victim, why is she not more passionate about it? This is not a good indicator for Amber being the victim. It's a very good indicator for her being an abuser. But
again, see, these kinds of observations are designed to make you feel adverse about Amber. They're designed to make you notice that she's somehow disrespecting the system or whatever. But if she was not allowed to eat in that situation, she would not have been given food. It's not like she's eating in a courtroom or anything. But the manner in which she reacts to it makes it look like something really guilty or, careless or I don't know what. But basically her response is completely wrong if she were innocent. This is deliberate misinformation, putting that video out of context. When this video was made, Amber Heard was not on trial for anything. And she has never been on trial for domestic abuse. This is all simply looking at a video and finding ways to blame Amber Heard for whatever is happening. I don't know, maybe he may not like the color of her shirt and say, that's the color serial killers use.
important thing, she talked with her mouth full there, right? She just answered the question because it's a no-doubt question. Who's in it? It's Johnny and I. And she said that through a mouthful of food. Later on, when there's a more difficult question and she has food in her mouth, suddenly she's not comfortable talking with food in her mouth. Suspicious.
So this is getting pretty ridiculous at this point. Why did she speak 3 words with food in her mouth but wait to finish chewing before giving a more detailed reply? Isn't that what anyone would do? This is nonsense. Suspicious, he's saying. He's actually saying suspicious. If a witness in a case who's just providing information, she is not the accused, remember, answers one question quickly and chews whatever is in her mouth and answers the next one slower. That is suspicious. Suspicion of what? She is not the accused. Suspicion of what? What does chewing food mean? Like, seriously, this is the point you're making. This doesn't even make any sense. Very often victims partially blame themselves as well as their abuser. Always try and give a neutral perspective with both their perspectives. For example, the story she's narrating is that she's trying to shut herself into a room while Johnny Depp is trying to get into it. And so she hit him so that she could shut the door to be safe. But she's actually saying it like, I wanted this and he wanted this. And the hit is almost like some kind of a middle ground while they try to figure out who gets what they want. But most normal people, if they were attacked and had to shut themselves in a room, they would describe it more on the lines of, he got aggressive, I had to go in the room and shut it. He tried to get in, but I shoved him out or hit him to make him back off and I shut the door. They wouldn't care what he wanted. This is a person compulsively given to considering what Johnny Depp wants. I mean, even while describing him abusing her, she is still explaining what he wanted. If anyone believes this is the abuser, I'm really, really sorry for this. Is literally the classic doormat behavior. This is the sort of behavior where police can come to arrest your boyfriend, but you tell them, no, I fell down the stairs myself. Oh wait, Amber Heard actually did that, right? When the cops came. She didn't tell them that he hit her or whatever and get him arrested. There you go. But this happens because they get so accustomed to the abuse. They get so accustomed to the bad status quo and having to live in it and having to placate and not make the abuser angry, that they're constantly tuned into what the abuser wants. This is very common in people who suffer domestic abuse. It's very sad, but it's very, very common. It's almost like a cliche. People who haven't yet got over their abuser, they will have these patterns. I had them when I was abused. I am a bold person. I kick butt around the world. Right now, the whole world is criticizing Amber Heard. I am making a video that is guaranteed to get me thrashed by all kinds of people. I don't care. But I am also the person who gave endless second chances, who excused abuse of myself as, something he couldn't help and I accidentally triggered him. This happens because you get so hyper focused on not triggering an attack or not triggering bad behavior that you're constantly thinking of his perspective as well as yours.
This could be due to the fact that she may have been asked this question often, and then afterwards she shakes her head no, and this is either in disgust or it's in a nonverbal misalignment saying, like, I don't believe at all what I just said, or this is false, something along those lines. However, during this time as a nonverbal analyst, I would advise to really push on points of these responses because they're not genuine. There's something fishy going on here, and it needs to be pushed. It needs to be tested to find out if it's actually genuine or not.
This thing has spread so much in the world. I think people who are actually professionals, like psychologists and so on, simply don't watch this crap. So they don't actually know what's going on and they're not following Hollywood. In the meanwhile, these charlatans go and invent whatever reality they want to suit the case. They've just bombed it all over the place till repetition makes you think that you've heard 1,000 accusations and guarantees of guilt of Amber Heard. There must be some truth to them. And these kangaroo courts have been so powerful and have operated on such gigantic magnitude. It is very hard to believe that this is a coincidence. So it's not just the misinformation, it's the highly coordinated misinformation. It is people making the same mistakes as misinformation. And coincidentally, those are the mistakes that say things Johnny Depp's lawyer cannot say in court. At the same time, those mistakes make the points Johnny Depp's lawyer is making in court. This is very hard to imagine as people suddenly, being inspired to do the same thing. I mean, either you were born yesterday or you just want to abuse Amber Heard for some reason.
Yes, as he was trying to get into the door, into the room, I was trying to escape in. He pushed the door into me, and I was trying to hit him by getting him out of the door to stay in the room.
And you told
She's like, duh. What? If this was any other situation, would you ever believe that sort of explanation as to what happened? Or her response to hard evidence of her vocally saying that she hit Johnny is this weird, Like,
No, yes, but, well, it was because he was, the door was there and I hit him to get out of the, duh.
You need to decide whether you want a career in theater or science. Again, this is simply the power of pointing and laughing without providing any logical explanation. It is like saying no matter what someone says, oh, look how she talked, that's so stupid. Or, look, she did this, that's dishonest. Look, she did that, she's lying. Look, that, she's guilty. If you do that enough times, people stop examining, people stop thinking things through. And they simply look at the reigns of lies, guilty, inappropriate, eating food, disrespect, blah, blah, blah. And decide that, well, if there's so much evidence, then there's something wrong with Amber Heard. I fail to see how this can be acceptable in any civilized society. People are being encouraged to watch someone being forced to describe their humiliation, their pain, their injuries, their fears, and to mock them. This has an impact on the case. This has an impact on Amber Heard's mental status. This is further abuse by proxy.
I think in that recording I made it very clear that I was sorry that the door hit him while he was trying to get into the room I was escaping or attempting to escape into.
okay. Oh my God. I'm getting frustrated by her lack of concern for this situation.
With due respect, nobody is forcing you to watch the video. If you cannot maintain composure and watch professionally, nobody is forcing you to do it. We all have our capacity, and sometimes we get frustrated, and this is all very clearly outside your competence to begin with. So it's not like you're adding value.
And now she's doing a very obvious, I have no interest in being here tell. This leaning of your head on your hand like that, this is classic. I am bored. I have no interest. It's a very, very clear nonverbal tell. If your significant other is doing this while you're talking to them, or your friend or your boss or anybody, they're done listening to you. They don't care to be there. So she's communicating that extremely clearly, which is just so baffling to me if she's really a victim. Why is she so uninterested in being there if she's the victim? But
why wouldn't she be bored? At this stage, she does not know that the First Amendment in the US is open to negotiation or simple overpowering with viral propaganda. She doesn't know all this. Right now, she believes she has experienced abuse. She has spoken up describing that abuse, as she has every right to according to the country she lives in. She has not yet seen the subversion to come. You're making this video 4 years after that video was recorded. You will not find her this casual now. Her trust in the system is completely shaken. She is terrified describing her own abuse while standing in court. This should be a matter of shame for the entire country. To put it another way, she's sitting as easily as you are. You don't believe your rights are in danger. You don't believe you are in danger. There's no reason for you to look uncomfortable or scared. You're already saying you're irritated and bored, which is pretty much her mood. If someone came after you for a video you made, you would laugh it off as your right to make the videos. But if you knew that now they're really going to come after you, they want damages, which is like way more than you can afford. And there's people who are going to start humiliating you. And you know how vicious YouTube can be. It won't take them long to turn against you. Then this ease of sitting, this body language will start changing. Then you will start feeling uncomfortable. And the worse the abuse gets, the more uncomfortable you will look. Right now, she hasn't seen that you are waiting for her in her future. That is why she's sitting easily. That is why she's casual, she's bored. She's seeking the law is going to take care of her rights.
I said whatever I said in that recording. I don't.
she just proved that she wasn't listening. Once again, an indicator that she doesn't care to be there. Not really an indicator of wanting to prove her innocence. Really more of an indicator of wanting to not be in a courtroom situation that might prove her guilt.
I don't know. Most normal human beings Yeah, they have a problem describing their own humiliation in front of strangers. She's not an accused in the case. She wants away from this. She did what she could, now she's done. She doesn't have to defend herself. She doesn't have to cooperate beyond her comfort level. Even if the case is lost, it's not her losing, it's the newspaper. She really doesn't have a dog in this fight, and she's not comfortable. Where is the surprise? She just proved that she wasn't going to be drawn on into another description, being forced to give more words to hang her with. That is actually the first smart move she's made. Her innocence was not on trial. You cannot simply run a kangaroo court and you are being fooled. Your justice system is being weaponized to harm women. Does this mean I'm saying Amber Heard is innocent or Johnny Depp is guilty? No. It may well be that Amber Heard abused him, but he should have filed for domestic abuse and proved domestic abuse in that case. When Johnny Depp says he head-butted her, but that wouldn't have broken her nose. Yeah, the head-butting, that's abuse. Those uncontrolled rages, they are abuse. His jealousy, this documented behavior of him. There is just no way Amber Heard did not experience abuse and therefore claiming to be a victim of abuse is defamation of Johnny Depp. This case was not about domestic abuse, it was about defamation. And if she was speaking the truth, which is that she experienced domestic abuse, it is not defamation. It is as simple as that. But I think it's safe to say the armadillo that trashed Johnny Depp's room in 1994 has been found. It's on YouTube, on TikTok, on Twitter, in many places. It's a very useful armadillo. I really hope Amber Heard supporters make a list of all these defamatory content and get it analyzed by professionals in the field. Get professionals to give professional opinions on the content and establish similarities and patterns. What is really going on here? What is truly hideous about this case is the spectator sport being made out of humiliating a woman. Much of this has to do with the backlash for Me Too, where men perceived that accusations against men led to punishment without due process. And Amber Heard is getting punished for the anger of many men over that. Because it's really hard to believe that there are so many people in the world who believe that Johnny Depp may have done drugs since he was a teenager. He may have been publicly violent on many occasions that we know of already. He was known somewhat for his recklessness. He is due to appear before court next month for attacking another man, a crew member this time. He's admitted to headbutting Amber Heard. His assistant wrote a message describing him kicking her. There are witnesses saying that they saw abuses on Amber. There are witnesses describing him hitting her. But Johnny Depp did not hurt Amber Heard. Where is this unreasoning loyalty in the face of all logic coming from? And I think it's coming from the Me Too movement. It's coming from the anger that men have that accusations made against men resulted in direct punishment without due process. There are several instances of people being fired, people losing their jobs. Amber Heard is getting the backlash from men because she has made allegations of domestic abuse against Johnny Depp. So the domestic abuse is fairly evident whether he was convicted for it or not. But the anger of the general public is misplaced here. This is not a case of someone simply leveling an allegations against someone else and then being punished for it. Johnny Depp wasn't punished for abusing Amber Heard. Johnny Depp got on with his life and then he came back because she described her abuse.
I just want Johnny to leave me alone. I just want him to leave me alone. I've said that for years now, and I thought he would after 2020.
It's a lynch mob against her. This is already resulting in a backlash on women who have done nothing to deserve it. I don't even think this case is the point. She has lost this case. Even if, say, she wins it on appeal, she is still as good as gagged for life. If she ever speaks about domestic violence again, I think it's extremely predictable that Johnny Depp will come at her again. If she has really suffered from domestic abuse, she's never going to be able to talk about it unless she actually has a conviction of domestic abuse against Johnny Depp. In my view, more important than the appeal, if she is convinced that she has been abused, she should focus on getting her evidence together, getting a good team of lawyers, and going after Johnny Depp for abuse.